Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm reading a book about anti-gravity, Cory. It's fascinating. I can't put it down.
You're supposed to wait and do those at the end of the show.
No, I gotta get it off and running.
You realize if you do stuff like that, I will have to outdo you.
That's never, ever gonna happen.
Uh-huh.
You're welcome to try.
Well, I had box day last week.
I didn't. But
not a lot in it, though.
I went out and found me the previews catalog. Went down and visited the guys at Mind's Eye, picked up a copy. And they had the DC Connect, but they had no Marvel.
How are the guys down at Mind's Eye doing?
They're doing okay. I talked to them a bit. They said their shipping problems are improving. Apparently Marvel tapped Penguin on the shoulder and said, yeah, no, do better. So now that they realize, oh yeah, we just throw them in a box, send them. Oh, they actually want them in good shape. Why? Well, because they're not coming back ever. So on the other hand, I did see the Department of Justice said to Penguin and Simon and Schuster, yeah, your plan to merge and make the biggest book publisher on the fucking planet? No. Yeah, but it's gonna just no. So we'll see what happens. I mean, they're like, it'll be good for a big publisher, but big authors, yeah, but it's gonna suck for anybody else.
Yeah, they've pretty much, well, one of the things that people say about stuff like this is, well, it's going to kill the midline books. They're dead already. They've been dead for over a decade. Midline authors have moved on to one of two things. They've either retooled everything they have and turned it into young adult books, or they are going through the self-publishing ebook route. I know a lot of people who worked for the series books, like Doc Savage, the Executioner, the Destroyer, things like that. They've either worked out deals with the rights holders and are kind of ebook publishing and then small press publishing more, like Will Murray does for The Shadow and Doc Savage and The Spider, or like the owner of the Destroyer license that was turned into a movie in the 80s, Remo Williams. They're just doing their books through Amazon. And then a couple of the writers who used to work on The Executioner and other series like that, they've started new series that they're selling as ebooks. So the midline's already dead. When you go to your local bookstore, you will notice that the fiction section is much, much smaller than it was, say, 5-6 years ago. Nonfiction books sell better. I don't know why that is. Political books sell like crazy. One of my friends was like, well, I could sit and write a good mystery novel, or I could put out a political screed that would sell 10 times the mystery novel. The thing is, those books are disposable. The mystery novel will still sell for years and years and years and years. The political book, it has a life of about 3 months and then it's done. And you see stacks of them at used bookstores because it's not something that people want to read more than once. And it's once that moment has passed, it's not like anybody says, I really want to read a book about Chris Christie's run for president in 2016, 2 years later.
Yeah. So, how about the only people be like me is I'll pick it up just to read the historical stuff about it. I mean, my wife's like, why did you pick up George Bush's autobiography? I said, well, because, it deals with his time in being president. To me, that's part of history. It's part of, what I studied back in college. So I find that interesting. Plus, like I've been waiting through Obama's book, I can pick it up, set it down whenever. And, the facts are going to be the same. And of course, I realize it's according to them. And of course, there's always somebody out there to say, yeah, no, that was wrong. But that's not the point. To me, it's more of a historical document that, I like to read over and over. Well, at least once.
In a lot of ways, I wait a long time for the presidential book. The memoirs come out right after. But then you'll get years later somebody who kind of goes through, sifts through all the documents, because every document is supposed to be saved, no matter what our past president said, so that the historians can kind of sort through and be able to dig up everything to not only here's the decision that was made, but also the historical context, what the consequences were of it, things like that. Something you really can't tell in the moment. Reagan's such a great example. After he left office, 20 different books from people who worked in the Reagan administration came out. Didn't read any of them. I did, however, like about 5-6 years ago, somebody put out an unbiased historical book that dug into everything. And you might have remembered when the news started coming out that, Reagan was far more injured by the shooting than we ever knew. Well, that's because everybody who was involved in covering it up is dead, and all of the documents are there so they can actually go and pull the hospital records and pull that stuff. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, although I probably will pick up Katie Couric's book that just came out. I actually took a picture of it because I wanted to talk about it, but Target had their 30% off sticker all over it. I think it's Going There is the name of it.
Yeah, supposedly she names names and throws everybody under the bus, including herself.
She's got nothing left to give. No F's to give. Plus, I like the take she has on Matt Lauer. She's like, I had no idea he was such a scum. I did want to pick I should say, as I'm wandering through Target, and we're getting into the time of the year where I'm not allowed to buy things for myself. Like Cory, for example, what would you want as a Christmas gift that you wouldn't want anybody to buy? Did that make sense? No. What would you want someone to buy you like for a Christmas gift? What is the number one thing like off the top of your head?
Pie.
Something that they can deliver without it being like destroyed by outdoor mice or UPS hungry FedEx Amazon people.
I haven't even thought about that in forever. My parents usually give me gift cards. My son usually makes something for me. That's really, I never think about that because it's something where I go, I never would have thought of that for myself.
Yeah, and you're probably like me. We got just enough disposable income. Like if I want it, I buy it. So,
if somebody read a book that they really enjoyed that I haven't heard of, that's kind of the best gift for me. I had an aunt who sent me a book that was used in her book club over the summer. And it's a book I never would have read on my own, but I sat and read it, really enjoyed it. Or a movie that I wouldn't have thought of. Something obscure, not genre. What was that movie? There was a movie a couple of years ago somebody sent me because they heard it was the most visually beautiful movie ever made. And I can't remember the name of it because it's not a common word of any kind. But I watched it, was like, I am so glad this person got this for me. I never would have even thought to get this. So things like that. If you've read something that you like, give it to a friend.
Yeah. See, for me, now that we're getting into that Christmas time, I'm not allowed to, I really want the Beatles Get Back book. Target had it on sale. It's a big, thick hardcover. It's $42. I know as we get closer to Christmas, it'll disappear, especially with the documentary, I believe, airing by the time this podcast hits.
I know it's on Hulu, so it'll be there forever.
Yeah, so I tend to take a picture of it and send it to, my kids. Like, okay, this is what I want. And because sometimes, well, I imagine we'll do a podcast of it as we get closer to Christmas, because usually what the deal is, I'll always like say, well, this is what I want, and then I never get it, and then I'm like, well, I could have just bought it. Not saying what I
That's
did is
for
cool.
after Christmas.
Yeah. And speaking of which, to segue back, all the stuff we're talking about will ship after Christmas.
Yes.
So don't plan to get it for a Christmas gift. We've been giving you those warnings off and on the last couple of months. The last catalog was really the last time you had to buy something previously. There's still tons of cool stuff in there. And should we start off? You always like to look at what's on the cover.
It is. This is the stuff that's going to be coming out in January when Christmas is over, Thanksgiving is over, New Year's Eve is done, and you're now just in winter. So you're going to want stuff to read. On the front cover, Joe, do you even know who the character Panther is?
I did, because I do recall selling her book back when I had a comic store.
Panther was around even before that.
Ooh, because I know Panther #1, by the way, is on page 142 in the Dynamite section. It's not one I was going to buy, but it's something I was going to point out to people in case you were a closet Panther fan.
She was a character who was in the Vampirella magazine from Warren. And then when the Vampirella came back, they brought Panther back, thinking, oh, we'll be able to get a series out of Panther. It didn't do as well as Vampirella. On the other cover, however, is the Return of Saga.
Yes, and I would mention that, and that's all I would mention on that, because I have yet to read any Saga.
Oh, you're going to love it.
I know, I can't wait. It's on page 42 on the image side of things, as well as all the volumes. I haven't decided. See, I've got like 1 through 6 in the trades. I haven't decided if I want to cash those in and get the Saga trade paperback box set, or do I want to get the hardcovers?
The compendium.
The compendiums, I thought. So I've got some options. The fact that I got 1 through 6 already, and I only need 3 more to get to number 9. That's acceptable to me.
Saga is a fantastic comic. The beginning of it is there has been a war going on in the galaxy for ages. And one soldier on one side gets injured, another soldier guards them, and they fall in love and decide, to hell with this war, we are taking off and making a family. And that's where it starts and gets exponentially more complicated as it goes. It's by Brian K. Vaughan. Artist is Fiona Staples. Brian K. Vaughan, who has done so many great books, such as The Runaways, Why the Last Man, so many other things. Wrote for Lost, has written a lot of TV. It is coming back from a break. That break was a little over a year. And it hit the halfway point. So there were 54 issues. That means there will be 108 issues to tell the whole story. The Saga Compendium reprints the entire first half. So if you just want to buy one book, well, 2 books, you buy that one, then you buy the second one.
Yeah. So,
but it is back, and comic shop owners are probably rejoicing because, boy, that thing sold. By the time they took their break, it was Image's best-selling book, outselling Walking Dead. Now that Walking Dead has dropped a little bit, it'll be interesting to see if Saga just jumps right back up. What else did you have with Image, Joe?
On page 38, Joe Hill's Reign. It's, let's see, the first in Chris Ryle and Ashley Wood's new, how do you say that, SIG-D? It's an imprint. A seemingly normal August day in Boulder, Colorado. The skies are clear, and Honeysuckle Speck couldn't be happier. She's finally moving in with her girlfriend, Yolanda, but their world is literally torn apart when dark clouds roll in and release a downpour of nails, splintering bright crystal that shred the skin of anyone not safely covered under And let's see, rain makes his vivid, escalating apocalyptic event as the deluge of nails spread across the country and around the world, threatening everything young lovers, Honeysuckle, and Yolanda hold dear. 5-issue series. Image gives 3 pages of full page art in the previews, and I'll give it a shot for 5 issues. See how good it is. A couple variant covers to choose from, but and the other nice thing is they picture all the variant covers, so none of this guesswork. Do you want the hidden gem? Yeah, of course you do. Sorry.
Page 62.
62.
God hates astronauts, the Omnimegabus.
Whoa.
I think I'm going to call all omnibuses Omnimegabuses now. This is the entire series. This is the story of a group of NASA-funded, superpowered egomaniacs who are paid a living wage to stop unregistered agrarian space travel. Remember that movie, The Astronaut Farmer? No? Well, it's like that, but with superpowers, goofs, and wild punching. This has the entire series in it. It's written by Ryan Brown. The artists on it. Oh my gosh, so many artists. 696 pages. This was one that I did not jump on when it came out. I heard good things about it, and now that it's all collected in one big book, I will be picking it up. There's only one other thing with Image that I want to point out that I am getting, and that is on page 70, That Texas Blood Volume 2. That Texas Blood may be my favorite comic now. This is a fantastic mystery comic. It defies description other than it is set in a Texas town where bad things happen. Crime, satanic cults, bad things happen. Fantastic book. The first book was true crime. This book is more about a satanic cult in the 80s. Could not recommend it more. Joe, what else do you have from Image?
In these tough times when food is so scarce, what's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? The monkey meat food cans, of course. Yes, monkey meat in cans. Don't make that face. You haven't tried it yet. Nourishing and tasty with 99% real ape meat. This top-of-the-line dish is a favorite of families everywhere. Even little Timmy here can't stop raving about it. Page 48, Monkey Meat #1. Writer, artist, cover. I think it's Uniba. It's a fantasy universe and with an anthology series. I almost said cereal because it's the Monkey Meat Company. Made its fortune selling cans of processed meat all around the world. Using that money to fuel their wacky experiments, they turned into their native island into a magic hyper-capitalistic hellscape called Monkey Meat Island. All you got to do is go to page 49, 50, 51, and look at the. You sold me on Monkey Meat. This just looks incredibly crazy, and I could use it. And they say it's Ice Cream Man meets Chew in this offbeat satire, one-shot storytelling. It's a 5-issue miniseries, so you can either wait for the book. Me, of course, I got my Monkey Meat now. Look, I'm salivating already. That's it for Image.
Image doesn't push any sort of genre this month. However, they do have what they call Generation Image, which is 3, 6, 10 creators that are new to the company that they're pushing as going to be big stars. Kind of like how Marvel has their Stormbreakers, which I think is a good idea. When you bring in new writers and artists, most people go, I don't know who that is, screw it. But if you highlight them, they may become hot artists. Next up, Dark Horse.
Nothing new for me. That's not saying I'm not picking up stuff. It's just nothing new for me.
Well, for me, I got to get the BRPD Hell on Earth Volume 4 because it's a Hellboy tie-in, and they're reprinting all of those in the wonderful omnibus format that Dark Horse uses. Their omnibuses are not the big, thick hardcovers. They're small, about 400 to 500 page soft covers. And then our EC book this month is Tales from the Crypt Volume 2 and trade paperback. You've not been able to get issues, let's see here, 23 through 28 for $20 ever. Even when it was reprinted as a regular comic. So pick this up. I don't need to go on and on about it. It's Tales from the Crypt. Everybody knows Tales from the Crypt. And that is all I have from Dark Horse. How about Usagi Yojimbo?
Yep, that's the only thing I got from IDW. Not that I'm buying it in a monthly comic, but I do want to point it out. It is back, in case you guys were looking for it somewhere else.
I want to point out on page 121, a new printing of Alan Moore's novel, Voice of the Fire. This was Alan Moore's first novel. It is hard to read because it is all told, each chapter is set in a specific place in London through time. So the first chapter is from a caveman's point of view. The second chapter is from someone else years later, on and on and on. All about this one place in London. In a story of lust, madness, and ecstasy, we meet 12 distinct characters who lived in the same region of central England over a span of 6,000 years. This also, plot threads from this lead into that big book he did a few years ago, Jerusalem, which actually came out as a 3-volume book. Alan Moore, very wordy. If you've not read it, I recommend it. It is not an easy read.
I did try reading it.
Well worth it.
I know I gave up on it, and I think my daughter took off with my copy, so I may have to buy this just to make sure I done got it. All right, who's next?
Well, do we want to do DC or Dynamite?
Let's see, Dynamite. Well, Dynamite's easy because I mentioned, you mentioned Panther's coming back, and I did want to point out a new Sonya book because they're doing the Sonya versus stuff. Hell, Sonya on page 138. For you, Red Sonya. And the nice thing, again, you got multiple of variant covers you can choose from. In this case, Sonya is Queen of Damnation. She lords over a fiery pit of eternal hunger and suffering. But now she's had enough of this evil shit. She will bind together lost souls, rove the multiverse to fill hell's belly with only the most deserving to have its punishment. Somebody so wicked is beset upon you. If you're desperate enough, no one else can help you. Maybe your prayer will be heard by Hell, Sonya. So, and as usual with a new series, they give a quick interview with the writer so you can kind of dig if it's your type of thing. Not mine, but I'd like to point that out. Just a new series starting up. And let's see, DC, I got to go. Did you have any Dynamite?
I didn't have anything from Dynamite or Boom.
Let's see, did I have anything from Boom? Oh, there was something on page 194 I wanted to point out. And I'm kind of confused by it. It took me a while to figure out what it is. Something is killing the children's slaughter pack. Now, if I'm reading this right, this is your chance to own number 1 through 5 with a
new cover by David Mack.
Okay, so I am reading that right because I'm reading it as wait a minute, is this just 5 David Mack covers of number 1? Because it says the first of 3 highly collectible slaughter packs. So they're not cheap because it's $39.99 to get all 5 comics. But considering the number 1 issue is probably about a $50 to $70 comic anyways, if you're not going to go graphic novel route, this is your good chance to jump on board. And David Mack's got some really kick-ass art. So this is down as I got to think about it because I'll definitely keep this in my collection and sell off my original number 1. So that's the way I roll. So if you want to jump on board, that's something I want to point out. Other than that, yeah, nothing new for me from Boom, Dynamite, IDW, Dark Horse. It's January. What can I say? They're not necessarily thrilling me with options here. So to DC?
To DC.
All right. Now DC, of course. Excuse me while I get all prepared. Let's see. I'm actually going to jump on board Detective.
With issue 1050?
Yep. Not
Me
so much
too.
because I care what was going on, but because one of the guys that I have always said if he wrote the phone book, I would read it. Mark Waid is taking over. So I will be interested to see what he does with Batman through Detective from here on out. Now, Detective itself is a
Hold on. This is just a backup he's doing in this special issue that
good enough
leads
for me.
into a new Batman Superman that I've heard it may or it may not be called World's Finest.
Okay, so we'll find out next month.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is probably, like I said, this is a jumping on point for me. Plus, it's a landmark issue.
And more proof that Dan DiDio is gone, because remember, he said Mark Waid would never work for DC ever again.
Yeah. You really got to piss somebody off to say dumbass things like that. Because, I mean, I go off the Vince McMahon method. Never say never. If there's business to be done, yeah, he may not be the flavor of the month, or he may have, taken your puppy out and, turned it into puppy chow. Isn't it the complicated thing now? Anyways.
Well, that's what the Big Boss Man did to somebody's dog back in the Attitude Era.
Yep. Such attitude. But yeah, other than that, that's a starting point for me. So I imagine next month I'll be talking about, if it is next month, I'll be talking about the next Batman Superman title I'll be picking up.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of new series. They're not launching much in January. Probably a good idea.
On page 23, I'm real tempted to pick up this, the Teen Titans Raven Beast Boy and Beast Boy Loves Raven box set. After reading the Free Comic Book Day sampling of Beast Boy Loves Raven, I just found it utterly delightful. I know this is a young children's, I shouldn't say children, young readers.
It's called Young Adult. YA.
So I'm an adult, sort of. I think young.
Yeah.
But I did kind of enjoy the preview. I've looked all over for these books. I do not see them at any comic store in town. I'm shaking my finger at you guys collectively. It's really, really stupid not to carry these, because there are young kids looking for these, or young adults looking for these. Fine.
And if they can't get them at your shop, guess where they're going to go? They're going to go online, and it'll show up in 2 days.
Yep. So, although this thing, the box set, holy crap, on sale August of 22.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to wait that damn long. I want to read them now. And much as I want to read the two together, I love a good sequel. So setting up Raven and the Beast Boy would be kind of fun. So again, DC, stupid. Really. I mean, you're publishing the Beast Boy Loves Raven in April. Is it really that tough to get it set up? You have to wait all the way to the end of summer. Boy, I swear, Cory, I've got a ton and a half of independents that I really want to check out. Why? Because Marvel and DC are kind of showing me they really don't want my money. But that neither here nor there.
Well, we could go to the trade paperbacks and stuff that DC is selling.
There are a couple other things I want to point out if I can find them. And the problem is that, let's see, I do want to pick up. I am going to pick up the Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes. I've been enjoying Brian Michael Bendis's work on Justice League. I enjoyed his Legion. Oh, there's a lot of people that don't. I'll save it for freaking. I don't want to get too into it. But this is the Gold Lantern Saga Part 1. It's a 6-issue miniseries, and since I'm reading both of them, I will jump on board with it. And the only other thing I had, and if I can find it, there was a Peacemaker one-shot that I have down as a question mark. And I believe it was because Garth Ennis wrote it.
That's the only reason I'm buying it.
Yep. And that's good enough for me. The books, it kind of left me cool. Oh, I'm picking up Looney Tunes 246 just because it's got a wrestling theme on it. I love a good wrestling Looney Tune.
I had a few things. I don't have the printed version, so Batman the Penguin. It's a trade paperback that reprints a bunch of Penguin stories from the 40s all the way up to recently. I like these collections when they do them. I remember when the first Batman movie came out, you had the greatest Batman stories ever told, then the greatest Joker stories ever told. And I thought the Penguin, they didn't do a trade paperback. I think they did a Penguin Two-Face book that was really slim. This is just a really nice trade paperback. Got a bunch of examples of the Penguin all through DC history. My only thing to point out is that this is a resolicitation because they canceled the first time they were going to put it out. The next book that I am all over is the Catwoman of East End Omnibus. This is Catwoman by Ed Brubaker, Darwin Cook, and Cameron Stewart. Most of the art is by Darwin Cook.
Ooh.
That's enough right there.
Yeah.
It reprints the backup stories in Detective that led into the original graphic novel, Selina's Big Score, and then Catwoman 1 through 37. Darwin Cook, an amazing, amazing artist. Ed Brubaker, his stuff at DC is so underrated. It's funny how at DC actually fired him. Then Marvel hired him, said, why don't you take over Captain America? See if you can, get that book to sell. And his entire run has been collected in omnibuses 3 times now. Also did a run on Daredevil that is pretty famous and pretty well known. Now he's over at Image doing criminal and criminal type spin-off books. Really excited for this one. What else was there? Oh, Why the Last Man Compendium Volume 2. They put out the first compendium, which was the first half of that series, because, hey, we got a TV series coming out, and people are going to want to, and now the TV series is canceled with season 1, but they're still going to put out the second compendium, which reprints the second half of the run. I also will point out for people, the Fourth World by Jack Kirby box set reprint has all 4 of the trade paperbacks in it. It's coming out in July. I have the black and white books. I have they called them omnibuses back then, but they weren't. I have the omnibus, and I stopped buying it. But Mark Evanier was talking about how when he was putting together some stuff for the omnibus, and was talking with Paul Levitz about the sales of the New Gods, Levitz said, well, yeah, it sold better than most of the stuff we had at the time. But I tell you what, the way those reprints sell, we need 100 more issues. If Jack would have done 100 more issues of that, we would be rolling in money. Because the reprints are now to the point where they've sold about as many as the original comics did. So, yeah. Way to go, DC of the 70s. Way to go. Carmine Infantino didn't much care for Kirby's art and just kind of buried him. And boy, think of the money they could be making now on all the stuff he was creating. Anyway, shall we go to Marvel?
All right. Now I got to find my page here because I went to gamesradar.com and had to kind of wander through their listings in order to figure out what I was going to get. And it still didn't work out that well because it's very, very confusing. Hang tight while I scroll through, because they give, what's neat about them is they give a huge picture of the art and then 3 images with covers if there's any variant covers, and a good description. The first thing on my list, according to the way they list it, is She-Hulk #1. She's back with her own series. She's ready to glam up the whole Marvel Universe. She's no longer savage, and she needs to get her life back together. She's got a career to rebuild, friends to reconnect with, maybe represent a court of law, and enemies, well, she may not want to connect with them, but they are definitely going to get connected with her. They're saying the last page has got a shocker. that will send her down a road she's never traveled and will shake up her life and possibly the whole Marvel universe. Okay, guys, enough with the hyperbola. You had me at She-Hulk. So let's see. Rainbow Rowell is writing it. Rogue Antonio is artist. If I had to choose a cover, I would probably choose either the Scotty Young or the Adam Hughes. And of course, it all depends as long as it isn't one that's, super. The Adam Hughes looks pretty good. Anyways, those would be my choice, as long as they're not, paying a premium for it. So that's my first choice on the Marvel Wheel of Stuff.
A little further down is a book that I was surprised is coming out, and I'm very happy is coming out, and that is Silver Surfer Rebirth. Not only am I happy that the Silver Surfer is coming back, this is written by Ron Mars and drawn by Ron Lim, who did the Silver Surfer comic back in the 90s. And one of the things that Marvel editorial has said from time to time is it's really hard to bring back older creative teams because they leave books for a reason. Either the sales aren't well, or they've run out of ideas, or they asked to be. Well, Ron Mars and Ron Lim, they actually said that, well, what it is, we've looked at how everything has changed since we quit doing the Silver Surfer, and there are stories we want to tell, not going back to the past, but set now, set in the changes that have been made to the character. Ron Lim is an artist who I've always thought he should be far more well-regarded than he is. I think he's a fantastic superhero artist. He's the only guy who's ever been able to follow George Perez and not get booed out of the building. Remember, he drew the second half of Infinity Gauntlet. And Ron Mars's run on Silver Surfer, I liked. This is a 5-issue miniseries. Really excited about that one. What's next on your list, Joe?
Maestro World War M, the final chapter of Peter David's Maestro, set of miniseries here. And this, Maestro's pretty much knocked off AIM, the Pantheon, even Dr. Doom. Finally, he may now reign over his kingdom with a firm green fist, except he didn't count on the Abomination rising from the dead and forming an alliance with Namor and Doom. Are you ready for World War M? And all I can think of is this is going to make a mighty fine omnibus one of these days. You take the original appearance of him in Hulk and these series, but I'm on board for this. Peter David, I follow pretty much anything he writes, and I'm looking forward to the final chapter on this one here. Next for you, Mr. C.
Silk #1. Silk is the Spider-Man spinoff. Back when they did Original Sin, the secret for Spider-Man was that there was somebody else bitten by the spider who had been locked away for however many years since Spider-Man's origin, and that is Cindy Moon. She was released. She's out in the world. They cleared up all the stuff about when her family disappeared and all the stuff about her origin. All of that stuff got wrapped up, and now they did a mini-series to kind of test the waters if people liked the character enough for it to sell. Obviously they did, because this is a regular series written by the writer of the mini-series, Emily Kim, and drawn by an artist that I will buy anything he does, and that's Takashi Miyazawa. I've followed his art since way back when he was doing Runaways. I'll read any comic he does. He's a fantastic artist. Another artist who I don't think gets the attention that he should. Then on the next page it says a comic 15 years in the making, but if you talk to the writer, Dan Slott, he came up with this idea when he was 8 years old and was shocked that no one has used it. He said that he was reading an old Marvel comic and there was a plot point that was just left. And no one has ever touched it since. Which is weird, because even in the 70s, you had Steve Englehart using every dangling plot thread that was out there. Then in the 90s, everybody was looking for old plots that they could plunder. But this is the Reckoning War. It's one of those where there's going to be an alpha. It's going to run through a few series and then have an omega. It's going to be collected in a big omnibus when it's all done. But I don't know if I can wait because it ties into the Fantastic Four, one of the books I still buy monthly. And Dan Slott has been talking about this since his run on She-Hulk 15 years ago.
That's interesting.
He also said that he has been pitching it in the writers' meetings for over a decade.
I find it interesting because they're talking about the greatest war to ever rage across the multiverse, which kind of sounds echoes of what's going on in the TV movie universe. So maybe they're putting it together a little closer.
Yep.
That's actually it for me, series-wise.
Well, there aren't any other new books. Everything else is still, continuation issues. There's, let's see, X-Men Legends. X-Men Legends is Louise Simonson and Walt Simonson again. This time they're doing a new Mutant story. Can't tell if this is a one-parter or more, but X-Men Legends is a fun book. They basically have creators do stories set in the past when they worked on the books.
There was something in New Mutants 25 that caught my eye. I know you say her name. Ileana Rasputin is the Sorcerer Supreme. So that may keep an eye on that. I don't know if that's happened anywhere else.
It hasn't happened yet because we haven't had the Death of Doctor Strange wrap up yet.
So I thought that was kind of an interesting slip of the tongue. Could it be? So New Mutants 25 might be one you might want to look up. She's still the rightful queen of Limbo. Plus, there's a really, really kick-ass cover. Oh my, look at that cover. I mean, that horn dog just put a barely dressed superhero on the cover, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll buy that.
So now we get to comic book collections for Marvel. This is where way too much of my money goes.
Yeah.
Shall we begin? Remember when they did the August 1961 omnibus, and I said, well, this is a one-time thing. It's got a really limited audience. Guess what? June 1962 is coming out. This has Journey into Mystery 83, first appearance of Thor. Amazing Fantasy 15, I never heard of it. Tales to Astonish 35, which is when Hank Pym put together the cybernetic helmet, became Ant-Man rather than a character in a monster story. And then the rest are Kathy, Life with Millie, Patsy Walker, Kid Colt Outlaw, Fantastic Four number 6. Joe, what was Fantastic Four number 6? Do you remember?
I don't.
Submariner teaming up with Doctor Doom.
Oh.
Millie the Model, Strange Tales number 100, the issue before the Human Torch took over. Tales of Suspense 33. Love Romances 101. Incredible Hulk number 3. Gunsmoke Western 72. Patsy and Hetty 84. Rawhide Kid number 55. I want to point out that we talked a lot about artist Al Hartley. And every so often, people will put up one of his Christian comics from the 70s because he did a bunch of Christian comics, including a bunch of Archie comics. Archie and the gang don't have their usual hijinks because instead of Archie being pulled between Betty and Veronica, Archie really wants to talk to you about Jesus rather than dating either of those two. And people are shocked. And I remember as a kid, those were the comics that your well-meaning Christian aunt bought you. So yeah, I'm buying that. The next omnibus is Wakanda World of Black Panther omnibus. This is all of the spin-off series and related series to Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther. So if you're going to get the Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Panther omnibus, this is kind of the companion piece, which has all of the stuff that ties into it. And I'm getting it, so I'm buying it. And then the next omnibus. Sweet Christmas, Joe! Are you buying the next omnibus?
I do believe I am. It's Luke Cage Omnibus. This is his original Power Man series, collecting Hero Fire 1 through 16 and Power Man through issue 47, which I thought was odd because 47 is the first issue that Chris Claremont starts writing it on.
But so what's issue 48?
Well, it's not on 48. 48's first appearance 48 of Power Man and Iron Fist.
Right. That's why they're cutting it off with 47.
So, still, I just thought it was odd because, anyways, in the annual. So I imagine there will be another omnibus following this. Again, I have this all in Essentials. Cory and I were talking before the podcast. You know, one of my goals is to maybe replace the Essentials with the Epics. But if I have them in omnibus format, it's just as good. And this would be a cool way to go all the way from number 1 to 47. The only thing cooler would be is if they, what was his first appearance? Was it in Spider-Man?
No, his first appearance was Hero for Hire number 1. Then a few issues later, he showed up in Spider-Man. Kind of surprised they don't have that in here.
Yeah, that would have been cool. But I don't know if that's a direct crossover.
Yeah.
But, you know, hey, you know, we expect more from our omnibuses.
The next two are omnibuses I'm not interested in. The first one is the Thing Omnibus, which reprints the Thing series from the early 80s. Now, if they were doing a Marvel 2-in-1 omnibus, that I'd buy. I like that book.
I'd do that.
This series was just kind of forgettable. Yeah, John Byrne took it over, but the first 12 issues were the Thing on Battle World after Secret Wars. And then when the Thing came back to the Marvel, came back to Marvel Earth, John Byrne kind of lost interest. Mike Carlin took over and did a story about the Thing becoming a pro wrestler. I've revisited it. It's kind of mediocre. The one after that is one that I get why they do these, but I'm just not interested in them. And that is the Phoenix Omnibus, which reprints the Phoenix stories from the X-Men and other places. I would rather just get the X-Men Omnibus and read the whole thing rather than, here are these issues, and then we skip this one, and then here are 2 issues, and then we skip 3.
What's cool about it is they put in Phoenix, the Untold Story, material from classic X-Men that dealt with it, and the Bizarre Adventures 27 and the What If. So this is kind of like, until she came back, almost like actually, maybe this might be better as a complete Phoenix instead of an omnibus.
Yeah.
But if you've never read these stories before, this would be a good one to pick up. Or if you have a fan that, of course, it's not coming out till when? Did they give a date? Ages next year, sometime.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably, I'm going to go it's usually at the bottom. I'll go to the bottom of the.
The next one I'm kind of waffling on. It's the Black Panther, the Early Years Omnibus. Now, I have the Black Panther Epic and the Black Panther Masterwork. But this has the stuff before Black Panther got his series in Jungle Action, which, cool Black Panther stories, most of them are terrible, because after Kirby created him, they were like, okay, we want to get him in the Avengers, but he lives in Wakanda, so how do we get him to the U.S.? Oh, he comes to the U.S. and becomes a teacher. Yeah. No. Thank goodness when Don McGregor took over for Jungle Action number 5, it's, no, we're going to be in Wakanda because it's Jungle Action.
Oh.
But it's got his appearances in the Fantastic Four, Tales of Suspense, The Avengers, Daredevil, Astonishing Tales, the Marvel team-up issue he was in. So I'm kind of waffling on this one.
Oh, by the way, the Phoenix Omnibus isn't coming out till June of 22. So you got some time.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else I was looking to pick up. How about you, Cory? What caught your eye as you're going through the rest of the trades?
Well, as I'm buying the Hickman X-Men in the book form, the Inferno hardcover is listed. That's the thing. That's Hickman's last story, even though it's not going to be the end of World of X story. It's the last one that Hickman's doing. And I'm picking it up so I can have that whole story. They are reprinting the regular comics like X-Force and X-Men and trade paperbacks, but I'm buying those the collected books, and I'll get to those in a little bit. I also want to point out Marvel Masterworks has made it up to the Frank Miller issues of Daredevil. The Brubaker series on Daredevil, they're reprinting that omnibus. The J. Michael Straczynski Spider-Man, they're reprinting that omnibus. And remember, omnibuses are selling really well. Joe and I were talking a little before. 6 of the top 10 books through Diamond in September were Marvel omnibuses, with the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man omnibus coming in at number 2, selling 11,000 copies. It's a $75 book that sold 11,000 copies. Let's see, what else am I seeing? I have to scroll through because I don't have a booklet. Nobody has. There it is. Reign of X Volume 9 and Volume 10. That's how I'm buying the X-Men, because what it is, it reprints the books in reading order. For example, Reign of X number 9 reprints Hellions number 11, Wolverine 11 and 12, New Mutants 18, Sword number 5, X Factor number 7, and then Volume 10 is X Factor 8 and 9, X Corp number 1, Marauders number 20, Way of X number 1. They're putting the story in order, and they're only having the books that are part of the main story. And it's a really impressive package. I'm so glad that they're doing this, because, you know, the story snakes from book to book to book. And I get that there are people who really like buying their regular weekly comics. But for me, if I could get, well, here's 2 weeks or a month's worth of X-Men in one book, cool, I'll read it that way. And then let's go down to the Epic collections. Now, these aren't all the Epic collections, but they are the ones that I am buying. Doctor Strange Epic Collection, The Reality War. This is number 5 in the Doctor Strange Epic Collections. It's written by Roger Stern and Chris Claremont. Reprints Doctor Strange 29 through 51. Man-Thing number 4. And material from Chamber of Chills 3 and 4 and Defenders number 53. This is Doctor Strange stories from the late 90s, late 70s, early 80s. I am also picking up the Captain America Epic Collection, Arena of Death. I did not buy the Mike Grunwald Captain America. I found it pretty mediocre. But in these big, thick Epic collections, it's a fun read to read. You know, it's fun. It's not something I'm going to go, this is brilliant, but it's, 80s superhero fight scenes, page after page after page after page after page after page. There is also a reprint of the Bloodstone Hunt, which is Captain America Epic Collection number 15. And then I think, if you missed the Moon Knight Epic Collections because they sold out, they are reprinting Volume 3. And I think they're reprinting Volume 1 and 2 either last month or in a coming month. So those are selling really well with the TV series coming. And the last book I'm pointing out for Marvel, Mighty Marvel Masterworks, Daredevil Volume 1. This reprints the first 11 issues of Daredevil in that smaller format for $15.99. These are basically being done so they can be sold through Scholastic Books. So Marvel is making it available. This shows what a mess Daredevil was for the first 6 or 7 issues until Wally Wood took over. Then when Wally Wood took over, god damn, his issues were great. Joe, it's time for the rest of the previews. By the way, their focus this month is DIY, do it yourself, which is they focus on books about writing, selling, publishing, editing, lettering comics. So they highlight those. A lot of good stuff there if you're a comic artist.
So before we get too far, I will back up to Boom again, because there were a couple things in Boom other than what I pointed out. One of them I'm tempted to buy. The other one I just want to point out. On page 186, for you Buffy fans, there's an 8-issue series with Angel. He's back. So if you're, I guess he's a detective TV starring Angel and co-star Cordelia. For Buffy fans, that should mean a lot. On page 182, though, I want to point out something. Cursed Pirate Girl, The Devil's Cave, #1. Not so much that what they said is interesting, because I've never heard of it before. It's a property by Jeremy Bastian, they're starting it after 5 years. However, just looking at the art from page 183 to 185,
amazing.
Oh my! And I'm torn between getting it as a comic book where I can lay it open and really enjoy it, versus sometimes in a trade with the bindings, they stuff it in there so tight that you're going to miss some of it on the edges. And the fact that I know nothing about Pirate Girl anyways, but I wanted to point that out because anytime you can show me some art, that is definitely something that will catch my attention. Or if you go to page 218 into the other section, way down under Action Lab, you have Newman. Actually, it's on the top corner there. It's Near Future. And Newman. What did I say?
You said Newman, and I, of course, went with the Jerry Seinfeld.
Okay. No, I can go with that. But in the near future, and those who face death without fear are given the ability of God's superpowers. People are tying themselves to the train tracks and running into burning buildings to gain these powers. Few succeed, most die. Those that succeed are new men. But they're hunted down by the badass bounty hunter Shade. Dive headfirst into the mind-blowing world of biopunk superhuman action straight from the amazing first-time African creators. And I'm not going to insult you by trying to pronounce your name, but they're there on page 218, 4-issue series. It sounds interesting. So that's between art. You can make the art and really get me with that, or just give me a real interesting description, because really that's all you got to go by. So there's a couple suggestions to start our round robin off in the others. What do you got next, Cory?
Joe, go to page 233.
All right, 233.
This is not something I'm buying, but if I owned a shop, floor and shelf displays from Aftershock Comics. These look really cool. It's a good way to highlight the publisher. I'm hoping that they're not charging a whole lot for them, because Aftershock's one of those companies that I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to. So this could be something to kind of highlight them, and a really good idea for a smaller publisher. Joe, if you were a shop, would you buy these?
If I was I would be buying Aftershock Comics. So yeah, I would do that, especially for the books. And then I could always change the header on it and put something else. Because oftentimes, like you say, they will highlight certain books, so you could print out your own thing or just do a quick scan out of previews, put it right across the top, and put Christmas books, comic books, crossover books, whatever. And because they're freestanding, you can kind of stick them by the register or stick them somewhere to highlight. My guess is they're probably cardboard. We've seen that way back when I had the shop, and we'd look at DVD displays and things like that. But I've seen them around. They always catch my attention. They always make me stop and take another look to see what's in them. Source Comics and Games, I'm looking at you. On page 326, something I thought that was interesting under American Mythology. American Mythology archives the Three Stooges Dell #6, 1961. Actually have had that in my collection a few times. What they're doing is they're taking all the first full Three Stooges issue published by Dell/Gold Key back in '61 and putting them in a single book. And you got two choices. You can use the recreation cover, or you can get the red, white, and blue Three Stooges cover. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way. If you're a Three Stooges fan, if you know someone who's a Three Stooges fan, or you're just curious to try some of these books out, not spend a lot of money. This is something that's very affordable. You get 32 pages, and it's only $3.99.
I do want to point out binge books, not in previews again. So I'm wondering if their little experiment didn't work as well as they'd hoped. On page 283, there's a book from Disney, a novel, In Every Generation. It's a hardcover novel, first of an all-new series continuing the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes, that's right. Disney now owns Buffy.
That's right.
Because they bought Fox. And they did what they did with Star Wars, and I doubt the Buffy fans are as angry because they've had their continuities wiped away more than once. But basically, this is saying, nope, this is the new continuity. Nothing ever printed before matters, including the stuff that Boom is doing.
On page 252, under AWA Upshot, The Fourth Man, written by Jeff McComsey, illustrated by some guy I'd never heard of him before, Mike Deodato Jr.
Never
3 dead
last.
bodies lay in a rural morgue, all murdered in the span of 3 weeks. It's up to 2 detectives from opposite side of the tracks to determine who put them there, if the murders are linked, and what, if anything, they can do with a pair of dueling car dealerships. It's a dark comedy mystery. I have it down as, I think it's a miniseries. A couple different covers to choose from. Oh, there, yeah, 4-issue miniseries. And, I love Deodato's art. And as it's a miniseries, again, caught my attention. Let's give it a shot.
On page 292, from Fair Square Comics, One Hit Wonder trade paperback. Written by Fabrice Saplotsky, drawn by Ariel Olivetti, which is what drew my attention. Ricky Reese was a terrible child actor. He was the worst. Seriously, he couldn't act his way out of a paper bag. His heart filled with anger, he found solace in violence and everything mafia related until he joins the mob for real. That's where we meet Richie. He's at the top of his game. He's internalized every bit of crazy that Hollywood has thrown at him over his decades living in Tinseltown, but he's become a very efficient hitman in the process. It's a 160-page trade paperback, drawn by Ariel Olivetti. So even if it's too goofy for words, it'll look pretty.
What was the title of that?
One Hit Wonder on page 292.
Okay, I guess I'll cross that off because I had that down as well.
Oh,
cool. Serendipity, baby.
I'm also going to point out a book on kind of the next page, 294. The Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, The Idiots Abroad and Other Follies. This is a trade paperback of the Idiots Abroad story that they did back in the Fab Furry Freak Brothers when it was a regular underground comic. I think it was either 3 or 4 issues.
Yeah.
140 pages. The Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers are going to have a animated series on Tubi, which is Fox's online streaming service that's free. Not Fox that's owned by Disney, the Fox that is not owned by Disney. Yeah, I don't understand it either. Yeah. But I know that they've been working on this animated series for years, and now it's finally landed somewhere, so they'll be able to start reprinting the Fab Furry Freak Brothers. Thankfully, I don't need to buy this because I have the collected editions they did back in the, the 80s or 90s?
I don't know.
I don't remember when they were. I just know I've had them for a long time.
Yeah, I did pick up one at, and it's actually right next to me because I haven't filed it away in my books. The Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers Omnibus. And I don't have a date on it, but if you want one, call Granite City because I thought I had their last one and like, no, we got a few. So there's your chance. Tell them Crazy sent you. Oh, by the way, if you are a twisted sumbitch, right across from Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, read Red Room. I picked up one just because I'd never seen it before and I picked it up. Oh, sweet bejesus, I got to scrub my eyeballs. Anyways.
Yeah, Red Room, I read the Free Comic Book Day one. It was really creepy.
This one I'm going to give you, it's not as creepy, but it's a new 16-part comic series. Back on page 260 under Behemoth Comics, quad number 1. In the last decades of the 21st century, a massive solar storm hits planet Earth, destroying all technology in its way, wiping out Cory's vaunted digital comic library. Global communications were lost, nuclear reactors collapsed, the climate suffered the worst drastic changes, and the financial systems were gone. The survivors had to adapt to a harsh new reality. New societies were built over the ruins of those that crumbled. Apes rose. Oh, wait, cross that off. 4 generations have passed. Now the mechanic, Tara, and her black cat, Elvis, accept a quick and simple repair job in the middle of nowhere. There's something odd about this job, and it's never really simple. I'm on board for this. A couple of small pages of preview art, some different covers to choose from. So I'm kind of excited to see where they go with this one.
Let's see. Page 313, right under Knights of the Dinner Table, which I get on a regular basis, is Knights of the Dinner Table Midnight Special Trade Paperback. This reprints stuff that has been incredibly hard to find. It is the stuff from conventions, mostly. The Knights of the Dinner Table Origin Special 2003, for the Diamond exclusive issues through 3, all between 2 covers back in print. These issues all feature standalone strips and storylines that have never been reprinted before. Also, if you're a Lost in Space fan, on this page is the Lost in Space Ultimate Collection, which reprints all new Untold Adventures, features the full crew of the Netflix show. This is a comic that was coming out, but I didn't know. I never saw it in previews. I don't even think it was sold through comic shops, but this is a collection of that run of books that tie into the Netflix show, which is going to get a 3rd and final season at some point.
All right. I will bring you back to page 263 on the right edge. On top, Blacktooth Comics, Emo Girl. Not sure if I'm going to buy it, but I'm going to point it out because it sounded interesting. Emo Girl is a Norrish tale with an angry, moody, bipolar, with a take-no-prisoner attitude, troubled teenager at the center of its universe. Her name is Gemini Moon. She's in state custody. Her father is in jail, accused of hunting down and killing a homeless man. The pair claim it was not a homeless man, but, in fact, a vampire. Turns out the self-professed vampire hunters have been doing it for years. No one knows who the father-daughter duo truly are or where they come from. The state shrink is asking her to claim coercion, and she could escape the justice system fairly unscathed, but she refuses and sticks to her story. As Emo Girl goes on the hunt, can she survive high school? So that sounded interesting. Right underneath it, Bliss on Tap, Duel #1. Are you ready to duel? In the first issue, we meet an FBI agent tasked with the investigation of the mysterious deep website Duel.global, which pits its growing number of subscribers against each other in real life in a race to stop a high schooler who has challenged the site's mighty highest-ranked dueler in a match to the death. A beginning of a 10-issue miniseries. It's a killer's game. Want to play?
My next one that I'm pointing out, page 339. If you are new to the idea of Judge Dredd, one of the most popular comics in Britain, has been going for, since 77. Don't do the math. They have a bunch of books here called The Essential Judge Dredd, reprinting some of the early stories, such as The Apocalypse War, America, and one that you absolutely must buy. It is the best Judge Dredd story ever, Dredd versus Death. This is Judge Dredd versus the 4 Judges of the Apocalypse, drawn by Brian Boland. This is the one when people think of Judge Dredd, this is what they think of. There are 4 judges of the apocalypse. They have judged everyone on their world and found them guilty of life. So they've killed them. and are now coming to Mega City 1. And this is the comic that made Brian Boland a superstar. This is where DC went over and said, yeah, you got to work for us. You got to work for us now. We don't care what you want to buy. You got to work for us. We need you now. These stories are fantastic. Just fantastic. It's, the early Dread where they're setting up his world. The other one I want is, where they're out, the Cursed Earth. That's the other one that just, one of those where when I read it in the 80s, it was like, this is one of the greatest comics ever made. Nice new collections, very well printed. Highly, highly recommend. What are you doing over there, Joe? It sounds like you're calling from a factory.
No, that's my wife cranked up the dryer.
Oh.
Fortunately, the Kray cave is right next to the washer dryer, and they have these little tiny plastic men that like pop around inside them. They look like the gnomes, and they keep the clothes separate from, so that's what you hear, clunk, 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 clunk. But for me, page 277, Yo books are back under Clover Press now. Popeye Variations. It's a hardcover book celebrating the incredible art of Popeye and his pals, illustrated by scores of artists over the years, with a special focus on the Popeye Cartoon Club by Kingfisher Syndicate, and collects rare cover illustrations by popular counterculture artists. So if you got the money and you're a Popeye fan, this is definitely a must-have for any Popeye aficionado. And it's from Yo.
Page 356, the trade paperback collection of the latest hardcase crime miniseries, Gun Honey. The weapon you need, where you need it, when you need it, she'll get it. When a gun smuggled into a high-security prison leads to the escape of a brutal criminal, weapons expert Joanna Tan is enlisted by the U.S. government to find the man she set loose to bring him down. Charles Arati, who is also one of the editors at Hardcase Crime, wrote this. He has not written a whole lot, but everything he's written has blown me away. If you want to read a novel that will knock you on your ass, read Little Girl Lost. It was one of the first Hardcase Crime novels. And there are books where you read where you go, oh man, that was sad. Or books where you read and you go, oh, that made me think a lot. Little Girl Lost, at the end of it, I just kind of, okay, I can't process this for a while. This is too damn dark. But it's also so good. One of the best crime novels I've ever read in my life. So really looking forward to picking up this trade paperback because Charles Arcadi, he knows his crime novels. Knows them backward, forward, and upside down. Joe, what's next for you?
Page 281 under Comic Experience. Past the Last Mountain #1. Half a century ago, the United States rounded up and imprisoned all the fantasy creatures that live amongst us. Now a fawn, a dragon, and an adorable troll boy have escaped confinement and are on the run from the U.S. Army. Plus, we take you back to the war with the short stories. 4-issue miniseries. All the variant covers are listed. You can choose what you want. Sounds intriguing.
I am going to point out something on page 363. There are a few things on here. There are a couple of novels that are by, quote, Stan Lee. What it is, Stan, toward the end of his life, would come up with ideas and through his company give them to people to write up. One of them is Stan Lee's Lucky Man, the Bracelet Chronicles. That's on this page, as is Stan Lee's The Devil's Quintet. But if you look under Touchstone, is a book that I think has been out of print for decades. How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. Written by Stan Lee, drawn by John Buscema. What this was, John Buscema was a art teacher when he wasn't drawing for Marvel in the 70s. And all I could think is, when the hell did he have any time to do anything? But they took his art class that he taught to Marvel artists and turned it into a book. And this book sold phenomenally in the 70s. and even into the 80s. It finally went out of print. They're bringing it back into print. This is a fantastic book for artists to learn the basics for how Marvel did comics. Not everybody does comics this way. Even Marvel doesn't really do them this way anymore. But John Buscema breaks down not just figure drawing, but also panel placement. How to use the character placement to bring the reader's eye from panel to panel. How to work in when somebody like Roy Thomas is giving you a bunch of text. How do you work that into your art? What's the difference between breakdowns, pencils, full pencils, etc.? Really an excellent book that captured John Buscema teaching people how to draw comics. The joke at the time was, how to draw comics the Marvel way. Part 1, find a page of Jack Kirby art. Part 2, buy tracing paper. Part 3, name yourself Rich Buckler and start drawing. But it's a really good book, not just for artists, but also for people who wanted to know how John Buscema did what he did. You know, why is John Buscema thought of as one of the greatest comic artists of all time? You read this book and you understand the thought he puts into even his most basic layouts. Joe?
All right, let's see. Over on page 282, under Cosmic Times, 3-issue miniseries, From Blood #1, the story of a superpowered mental patient. You had me at the superpowered mental patient right there. It's an action-packed tale, follows the mysterious patient 27 as he discovers the truth about who or what he is. For years, he has kept silent, a hulking, indestructible mountain of a man. But after a visit from Dr. Reese, the door has been opened and all hell breaks loose. I go through previews. I try to read things that look interesting, and I'm like, I don't know if anybody's ever done this concept before, but damn, this caught my attention, and I'm willing to give you my money to see how it pans out. So hopefully you do as well. From Blood.
Page 364 is a book that Joe's going to cross off his list when I mention it. Woo-hoo. American TV comic books.
You are absolutely
to
right.
The 80s. From the small screen to the printed page, this is about the comic book adaptations of TV shows. That's all I need. That description, and it's from Tomorrow's. I know it's going to be a good book. Tomorrow's has done excellent books like this. They're very thorough. They double check everything. Their editorial is spot on. I said years ago that I often would go, I don't know if I want to pick up this book from Tomorrow's. I'll wait till I see it in shops. I'm so far past that. It's, if it's a topic I'm even remotely interested in, I'm buying it. Next for Joe.
Back in Drawn and Quarterly, they have 2 books that kind of caught my attention. First one on page 284, Billionaires, A Life of Rich and Powerful, by Daryl Cunningham. He offers an illuminating analysis of the origins and ideological evolution of 4 key players in the American private sector. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, media mogul Rupert Murdoch, oil gas tycoons Charles and David Koch. I know it's Koch. What emerges in these informative and hilarious biographies is a vital critique of the American capitalism and the power these individuals have, or in the case of one of the Koch brothers had, to assert a corrupting influence on policymaking, political campaigns, and society at large. Let's see, right below it. If found, please return to Elsie Gravel hardcover. Elsie Gravel, of course, writes, it's a sneak peek into outrageously amusing sketchbooks where colorful monsters, imaginary friends, grumpy things, they reign supreme. You meet Donald, who sings off-key, Francine, who likes to eat stones, Marvin, the man with lots of stuff in his beard. Mixing the real with the fantastical, Elsie drawings exclude curiosity as microbes and mushrooms share the page with spectacled pepper pops, cloppers, and floofs. Stop worrying about what makes a drawing good or bad. draw anything else and everything you can too. This is one of those books I would love. I think it's been out, so I might be able to find a copy on the shelf somewhere, but I'd love to look at the art. It sounds amazing, but it's just something, again, it caught my eye, and I think it's something that I definitely want to check out.
The last thing I have is actually on page 380, and it's a book that comes out. It's been on my pull list, but I always like to point it out because it's not a book that a lot of people know about, and that is from Warrant publication, Shudder. This is issue number 3. The editor, Rich Sala, is a huge Warren magazine fan. He has gathered as many people who used to work at Warren as he can, including Don Glutt as a writer. Mitch Margopoulos has done a story or two here and there, to do new stories in a black and white magazine, 56 pages. I will be honest, sometimes you look at it and you go, this art's a little crude, but nobody else is doing this sort of thing. They're fun stories. It does remind me a lot of Warren Magazine. They're much thinner than the Warren magazines, but the reason for that is he doesn't have Captain Company, which was Jim Warren's little mail order company, to fill 20 pages with worthless crap that you can send away and buy with your hard-earned lunch money. And that is it for me.
Well, taking away the 3 items we serendipitously chose, I only got a couple left. On page 312, under Keen Spot Entertainment, Bonnier the Aromatic, Japanese sensational Hiro Masanori, makes his English language comic debut. Bonnier the Aromatic is a world-famous treasure-hunting zombie killer, but she has an embarrassing secret. Her zombie-killing success is the result of death-dealing armpit stink. The only thing keeping the world safe from her smell is an odor-neutralizing hoodie. But when fighting monsters work up a serious sweat, there's no stopping the funk from flying. How can you not want to read that? 4 variant covers to choose from. And on page 344 is the last item that caught my attention. Everything Sucks. For a mere $5.99, you too can find out why everything sucks. Noah and Kala are hungry, and should have probably gone outside. Unfortunately, outside sucks. Can't even get a burger without the whole place almost burning down. The creator, Mr. Sweater, combines 90s animation nostalgia, sitcom antics, and a seasoning of stoner comedy in this new serial, and it includes stickers and a poster. You had me at stickers and a poster. Yeah, this is the type of stuff you think, what would Kray buy if he had a comic shop? Oh, yeah, I'd be on top of this. And that is just double checking, because like I said, I overlooked a few, but that's everything for me.
Well, it's not everything for our listeners, though.
Well,
because they should be buying this. Our newest sponsor is Nordvpn. Let's be honest, if you're out on the internet, you need a VPN to protect you. There's all sorts of things going on the internet where people can track you. You could accidentally download a keylogger, all sorts of things. Nordvpn gives the best security possible. It has a password manager which generates complex passwords, syncs across all your devices, stores your notes and credit card information. It also gives you 10 gigabytes of private cloud storage, secure files that backs up your data automatically. But the main thing it gives you is peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind when you're out on the internet, when you're streaming, when you're playing games, when you're listening to podcasts like this one. It gives you safety anywhere at any time. It protects your online activity. You get full access to all content. And if you use the link go.nordvpn.net sh3ku, it'll take you to where you can get a great deal for a 1-month plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. They are our newest sponsor. We're happy to have them. And if you would like to sponsor something here at any of the podcasts on the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email me, solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. And now here's something we hope you'll really like. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is currently on a pause, basically because COVID-19 has made it so that I have to work a lot of extra hours at both jobs. But you can still go and listen to my other podcasts. Now, you're probably listening to Crazy Comics and Stories, which is the main podcast. But on this same feed, KRAYZCOMIX, is Solitaire Rose Radio, the solo radio podcasts that I do. I've done interviews, I've done short stories, I've done all sorts of things, and you can get to it right here on this same feed. I also do a podcast called Novelcast, where I take the novels I've written and turn them into free audiobooks. That's over at novels.solitairerose.com. Dangerous Dan Moore and I, and of course Wolfie B. Bad, give you bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. You send in your questions, and we give you the aforementioned bad advice. And then myself and Adam Vermillion from For the Love of Comics do the Fantastic Forecast at fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com, where we go through the issues of the Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time, to give the plot and commentary on each issue. That's not all. Yes, I'm crazy. I still, over at pwinsiderelite.com, every week on Wednesday, do a recap of the latest episode of AEW Dynamite. I write up what happened, and then myself and Anthony Pyrus will do an audio. Now, you can only listen to the audio, if you remember, at pwinsiderelite.com, and if you're a wrestling fan, you should be, where we then break down the episode, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, give it a grade, and let you know if you should have watched that episode. Those are the other podcasts here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network. Thanks. And now it's time for Joe's favorite part of the show.
Oh, envelope licking. Oh.
No, not where he takes out the little men in the dryer and has them fight each other.
Oh, they're doing quite fine in the dryer.
No, it's Joe. What's going on the eBays?
Oh, all sorts of stuff are selling left and right. I'll just give you a quick rundown here of some of the stuff I've sold. If you are a toy collector, Walgreens has an exclusive Nova figure. So, you know, I know people, when they think of Walgreens, they instantly think figures, but these have been some of the more expensive collectibles to find, and they're hard to find. Well, I found a few, so I kept the best one, and I put the others on the eBays. Sold a copy of Xena Warrior Princess, Volume 4, Number 1, the Virgin art covered by Erica Henderson. Very cool art. Cory, have you ever heard of a character called Pogo?
Once or twice. Twice.
Yeah, some cat named Walt Kelly had a comic strip that was amazing. I had a first edition book of I Go Pogo from 1952. Apparently I had 2, so I put one online. They're not terribly expensive because they were well put together and people loved Pogo and saved them. So you can go online and pick up one yourself. Not mine, of course. If you were way back in 2008, you could have sent away for an Image Darkness 1/2 through Wizard. It was one of those mail-aways where you send away and they send it to you in a special cover with a certificate of authenticity and all sorts of fun stuff. I sold in a surprisingly expensive Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 105, the retailer edition. So apparently they're fairly rare. I mean, people are not only maybe just not buying a lot of the books, but trying to find the retailer edition stuff to do anyways. We talked way back when it first came out, Dune House Atreides. I don't know. I'm not in the Dune at the moment. But Jay Lee had a Virgin black and white variant cover that came out from Boom. Sold it. Speaking of Source Comics and Games, back a ways they had their own variant cover that it said actually on the cover, Source Comics and Game. It was My Little Pony Micro Series Pinkie Pie number 5. Hard to find. Source doesn't have any, and they're going up in price. I might have one or two left on. I know I have one that my daughter had actually signed by the creators, because back then she was into My Little Pony, and I took her and my nephew, who talked about it. Boy, I'd give a Joe prize if anybody can remember that. I was back even when you were going to cons, Cory. He sat down and we talked a lot about him being a brony. And
that had to be a long time ago.
It was when we were actually, it was one of those where we were recording just for the con, and people would come by. I remember Dan Wiesemeyer sat down. I was able to get Mike to talk a little bit, Big Mike. And my nephew Zach sat down and talked brony. So, but you know, the nice thing is it's all available. None of it's behind a paywall. Every single podcast we did is up and ready to rock. So you can go back and check it out. Let's see. I sold a thank you variant cover by Alex Ross from Empire Aftermath Avengers from last year's crossover. Going to France, and hopefully a new listener is come online. Ultimates #1, signed by Mark Millar. This is back during the Ultimate, what do they call it? Ultraverse? No, not Ultimate Verse. You know,
the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, thank you. 2002 came with a. This was when he signed it at Midtown Comics. I mean, is there anybody who doesn't visit Midtown Comics? I mean, I'd love to live in New York, man. That would be like the daily stop. In a little separate sidebar, I obtained a copy of Swords and Spells, Fantastic Miniature Rules on a 1/100th 1-to-1 scale by Gary, how do you say his name? Gygax? You know.
Gary Gygax.
Gygax from TSR, the old Dungeons and Dragons book. This was actually the 5th printing. People are still looking for them. Duke Nukem, Glorious Bastards #1, the retailer incentive variant cover from IDW 2001. Old Man Logan #1, variant cover from 2016 series. This is that Mike Diodato Jr. guy. Never last. I sold the last copy of my Shazam comics, not counting the #1 I had signed by CC Beck. Shazam #26. It was only in very good shape. Had Shazam versus Ibeck way back in 1977. It wasn't terribly expensive because it was just in very good shape. Going to Canada, and I hope a new listener in Canada, Transformers Best of UK Space Pirates from IDW way back in 2008. This is when they reprinted all the UK filler comics that were never published in the United States. And I think that might be the last of my run from that. Last week, I talked a lot about the Pressman Silver Ink variant. Wouldn't you know it, as we were talking, somebody bought the one I had online. Stuff goes fast. You know, I'll talk a little bit of in geeking why things have been haphazard. I've been trying to get things online. Actually got a couple things up today. So if you're always interested to see what's there, you know what to do. KRAYZ, check it out. I put some fairly expensive stuff up, but if you're a listener to this here show, tell me you listen. Maybe I'll cut you a deal, make an offer. Even if you buy something low price, I usually love to include something fun in, just to you know, have a little fun. You know what I say? It's all about fun. I like fun. Cory, do you like fun? Oh well, you know what to do, people. Come get some.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where I play with all the cardboard boxes that have piled up in the house.
Oh, I thought we were going to try to figure out if Dan Jurgens was indeed part of the Jurgens Ultra Healing Hand Lotion family.
He probably could have bought it after Superman #75.
Yeah.
No. It's freaking and geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
All right, I can talk about it. I tried not to. I know a little bit here and there freaking geeking, but for the last 9 months, I have been on what TSA calls a fitness for duty. Folks, if you want to know what fitness for duty is, go back to 2019, August, any of the podcasts during that week. Fitness for duty is what TSA does when they put you aside and say, we're not sure if you're entirely fit to grope people's junk. Yes, I'm being sarcastic, but it is a legit thing. If you report that you're having problems, they put you aside until your doctor says okay. Well, I've been doing this for 7 months, and it's because my hands, for a while back in February, were very arthritic, and I couldn't make a fist. I couldn't feel anything. You could see where that might be a disadvantage if you had to pat people down looking for guns, knives, and explosives. Eventually, working with my doctors, working with my managers, my on-the-job trainer, all that stuff, I got better. And then I got slapped with a fitness for duty. This is what freaks me about it, because anybody anywhere in TSA can slap me with it. In this case, they went into my family leave medical act application and said, hey, Joe says you can't pat down things. I said, no, I said I have episodic episodes where my arthritis flares up. Folks, I've got rheumatoid arthritis. I'm going to die from rheumatoid arthritis. It's inevitable. The best I can do is keep it at bay with various drugs. But if you look at my hand, and I'm not putting it online, but I got the clawing effect where the knuckles are distorted. I still got full feelings and full movement. Eventually, it will catch up to me. And I hope you don't have a family member that had it in the past. There's nothing they could do. They're very aggressive about it now. When my doctor found out I had a problem, he gave me drugs. My team at work worked with it, but the fitness for duty thing basically shelved me. What I had to do is have the doctor sign off that, yes, I'm fine. And he did. A week and a half ago, I got a termination notice from TSA saying that they could not determine whether I was fit for duty. Therefore, they were going to terminate me. I kind of went off a little bit last week about it, but I didn't really. Cory, pie bless you. We talked a lot after the show. I mean, it was a lot. I've been there 19 years, and to suddenly be told, oh, you can't work with us, go away. I had plans on what to do. It didn't mean I was necessarily happy about it. We potted on Thursday. Friday, I get a text from my boss. He's like, Joey, where are you? You got to fill out some paperwork for the manager. And I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus, this is it. They're getting rid of me. Not realizing, of course, that the same soup was the one who gave me the day off. So whatever. So that kind of shot the weekend. The Hail Mary I had going for me is that when I talked to my union rep, she said, well, the big thing is if they do actually fire you, somewhere in the paperwork, they're going to have to put a doctor's notice saying that you are not fit to work. All we have is you are fit to work. So that's going to create a problem down the road. So she talked to a higher up at TSA, and they went to the doctors in DC and said, hey, we got a disconnect here. You're firing him because you can't figure out if he's fit for duty. However, he is fit for duty. His doctor signed off on it. Doesn't mean they can change their mind, because these particular people in DC are God. They did change their mind. Monday, I went into the manager's office. He had me sit down. And the first thing he said is, TSO Joseph Ryder has been medically cleared for duty. All medical documentation otherwise have been rescinded. Thank you for your cooperation in this matter. By the time he said that, all the stress out of my shoulders and neck from the last 9 months just left me. If I hadn't been sitting down, I might have passed out or fell over. I've heard of this happening to people. It's never really happened to me before. I mean, I've had it when I had the comic shop, especially that last year where things just weren't going right, between, energies spiking where my energy bill went from $400 to $1,200, and, they wouldn't deal with me. I had that instant where somebody found out where I hid the cash stupidly and stole it from me, 9/11. It wasn't a good year, but when I finally sold the shop, it was like all the stress went away. It actually I was sick for a while because the stress just built up so much. But they didn't get rid of me yet. I'm back in baggage, which is nice because that's where I've always wanted to be. I don't mind being on checkpoint. I like working with people. I'm a customer-oriented type of guy. I'm a little bit of an idiot.
A little bit?
Yeah, big time. I've had guys come up to me and say, you're cracking too many jokes on the checkpoint. I don't think you got the right attitude up here. And I'm like, dude, if I stop cracking jokes, then you better pay attention to what the hell's going on. Anyways, if you notice, I did drop my Facebook for a while. I figured it was probably a good thing. I mean, look, I've just spent the last 5 minutes, and believe me, Cory and I talked a lot longer than that. And he's been Cory's been my wife, Cory, Steph, people at work. They've all been, kind of my support mechanism, trying to get through this as best I can. Ultimately, I realized I had to go through it, but I did realize Facebook was the last thing I needed. So I shut it off. I did turn it back on, and I'm kind of like, in the meantime, all that stuff's going on about the Facebook papers, about how Facebook, they don't care if we're fighting each other. They don't care if they cause a war in a foreign country. If it's a choice between doing the right thing and money, they want money. And of course, they're like, oh, no, it's not like that. Well, yes, it is, because that's the way.
Can I interject something with that?
Oh, please.
Every business is all about money. Now, it used to be. I'm getting my soapbox out here, and I'm going to stand up on it. Back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and into the 70s, if a business didn't want to pay taxes, there was a very easy thing that they could do, because it was a 90% corporate tax rate. They could pay their employees, give them benefits, and invest in their business, because every dollar they spent on that came off their taxes. Not in it reduces your profit. No. If I spend $5 million on a new factory and I owe $6 million in taxes, that $5 million comes right off. I only owe $1 million. Then when I hire people, if I pay that whole group of them, their pay and benefits are $6 million. I'm sorry, $1 million. There's the other million gone. Why? Because they wanted people to reinvest their profits in people and business and growing their business. In the late 70s into the 80s and every time since, we have instead said, well, businesses shouldn't pay any taxes and neither should rich people, because then they will do this out of the goodness of their heart. And they haven't. That's why we have billionaires that are getting exponentially richer. That's why we have companies that make ginormous amounts of profit and lay people off. That's why we have businesses who all they care about, did we make more money this quarter than last quarter? Because if we don't, the institutional stockholders will call for the removal of the CEO and the board of directors. We no longer here in the U.S. invest. We pull money out of things. That was the big thing in the 80s. Remember, a company would do a hostile takeover and pull pull everything out of it, sell it off to get the profit and move on to the next one, like termites. So when people say, oh, Facebook is bad because they just want to make money, that's all anybody wants to do anymore, because there is no financial incentive to do anything else. That's why our bridges are falling apart. There's no financial incentive for anyone to fix them. That's why the middle class is going away. There's no financial incentive to pay people well. That's why the cost of your rent has gone up. I actually looked at the first apartment I had when I moved to the Twin Cities. It was $350 in 1988. It is $1,400 for the same one-bedroom apartment now. Have people's salaries gone up that much? No. There's no financial incentive in having a livable rent. It is better, we can't fill it, to take the business loss on $1,500 than to, nobody's renting it at $1,400. So instead, how about $900 for a one-bedroom apartment? Nope, you make more money off the business loss for no. And I can't even get into, if I see a business that has a thing about no one wants to work, guess what? No one's going to come in named me, because I will avoid your place of business for the rest of my life. It's not that nobody wants to work. It's nobody wants to work for you. Rant over. Joe?
So I'm back on Facebook. I don't know how long I'll be on there. The thing is what I've been doing is I'm slowly going through. I got a lot of people that I used to play social games with, and Facebook social games have kind of gone away. I mean, because I really don't know why. I guess money, but it used to be like I would go, I need someone to help me with my Farmville thing, and it'd be, I don't want to play Farmville, you're annoying me. Well, whatever. I got other games I can play now. So, that's pretty much it for my geeking or freaking. I'm sorry. Boy, that was a bummer. Cory, what are you freaking on?
Today, WWE announced their corporate earnings for the third quarter. And because they're touring again, they've made more money than they have in a long time. They showed a nice profit. It showed massive growth. So they released 18 talent. They released from Raw, Eva Marie, Grand Metalik, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, Lindsay Dorado, Nia Jax. On SmackDown, B-Fab and Maya Yim. On NXT, Ember Moon, Frankie Monet, Katina Cortez, Orny Loken, Jesse Carina, Gil Rama, Zeta Raymer, Scarlett, Trey Baxter, and Davey Boy Smith Jr. Again. Ties into exactly what I said. WWE. Wow, look at all this profit we made. And we're getting rid of 18 people, some of which we haven't even had on the main roster for a cup of coffee. Why? Hey, got to make more money. 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 Marvel and DC are annoying me in that they are delaying. I know what it has to do with. I know it's the paper shortage and the shipping issue. And it's funny how everybody, there's all these problems with these shipping issues from China. What a mess. What happened 2 years ago? Didn't we put up a huge bunch of tariffs against China? No, those two things can't be connected in any way, shape, or form, can they, Joe? Not at all.
No, not at all.
Nope. They have nothing to do with each other. Why can't I get the stuff I want? Don't buy anything from China. So comics are getting delayed. Some of the stuff that we talked about today, they're already announcing delays for. People haven't even ordered the books yet. They're being delayed. So good thing is I have a whole bunch of comics I haven't read yet. I got a whole bunch of TV I haven't watched yet. Got a whole bunch of DVDs I haven't seen yet. So it's not like I won't have stuff to entertain me. My problem is I don't have time for all of the things that I want to be entertained by. But still, it's kind of a bummer that we have to wait. I mean, some of the omnibuses at DC, they're delayed 3 to 6 months. Jeez. Joe, what are you geeking on?
I went to a Toy Posse show over the weekend. Because of my dread on my job, I didn't spend near as much as I could have, which is probably a good thing because there was some really cool stuff there. What I did buy, as I grabbed my bag of stuff, see, I got, I picked up some Hot Wheels, and, you never have enough Hot Wheels. One, a Loot Crate Supernatural. Supernatural is in the TV show. The first Batmobile, because the Hot Wheels are showing the new Batmobile that's coming out for the movie. So if you want a sneak peek, check it out. Let's see. Batmobile like you've never seen before rumbles and roars through the dark, gritty streets of Gotham City. It may be different in its design, but it's identical to its purpose to get Batman where he's needed most and get him a sandwich. Let's see. What else did I buy? It's like Christmas. I picked up a couple of Transformer books that came out from, it says licensed by Hasbro, but Titan came out with these. These happen to be the Transformers Generation 2 as seen in the Marvel comics. They had the Transformer line canceled and then came out with Generation 2 when they came out with the new toy line. and I've since sold mine away back. Picked up a couple comics. There was a lot of more comics there than I thought. And again, I had to behave myself because I thought I was going to be unemployed. Some will go on the eBays. A couple I'm keeping. One of them I don't ever recall. I love picking up titles I've never seen. Millie the Lovable Monster from Dell. And it's got like dinosaur type shaped monsters. Bill Wagon is on the cover. And Millie, of course, is all dressed up. The other ones looks like one's holding a little thing, some Monster Airline. And apparently it was Lawrence's comic at one time. So, but it's Millie Gives a Monster Party. So that's kind of fun. I found a later Star Trek, number 56 from 1978. This was under the Gold Key design. Guardian on the Edge of Forever on it. So we'll see what that has to do. Picked up a copy of Doctor Strange Fate. Boy, I really wish they'd come back with this character. You need the right person to write him, though, because he's a son of a bitch that'll do whatever he needs to get it done. And, of course, who's under the helmet, Cory?
I'm still trying to figure out what's in the box.
Oh, what's in the box? Well, it could be the next comic. I picked up a Smiley the Psychotic Button one-shot from Dynamite. Because I like Smiley. I have a Smiley button from Chaos. He comes out during Comic Cons. So there's actually a Comic Con coming up. And let me see. Excuse me while I go on to Facebook.
Out.
That's the other thing, having to go on to Facebook, is I couldn't figure out when the next Comic Con was. So let me see. Comic Con. MLPS. There's one coming up. I think it's on the 18th. Bloomington Comic Expo. So let me type that in. Bloomington Comic Expo. There it goes. It is going to be November 13th. So as this podcast drops, hey, you could still go. So it'll be at 31 West 84th Street in Bloomington, Minnesota, by TC Comic Conventions. Free admission. Keith Champagne, Tom Nigan, Gordon Purcell will be there. It's the Bloomington VFW, so you probably have been there before. I'm going to get there early because I got to get to work. So, but if you happen to see me Saturday, November 13th, let me know. And I'll mention you on the podcast, and maybe I'll get your address and send you something fun because Lord knows I got enough crap lying around. The final thing I'm geeking on, after last week ranting about Facebook games, I gave one a try that sounded kind of interesting, and so far I've enjoyed it. It's called Hogwarts Mystery. It's tied from Portkey Games, Jam City, and Warner Brothers. It's tied into the Harry Potter universe, and basically you are a student in Hogwarts, and what you're doing is you're setting up, you're going in, you set up your avatar the way you want, and then you have a mystery, and I'm assuming it alters depending if you're male or female or which house you get into. But apparently my brother had been at Hogsworth and he was looking for the cursed chambers, did something to get him expelled. So I show up and everybody instantly is thinking bad about me because I'm the little brother. I can't be any better than the big brother. I got to make friends. I got to solve mysteries. I got to learn spells. And of course, right away, I have a arch enemy who is also looking for this particular chamber, but also doesn't really like me, and I have no idea why. It takes place about the same time as Harry Potter is saved as a baby, so it's not like you're going to be running into Harry Potter. It's apparently a 7-year game, maybe not to play, but to go through because you're playing chapters, and it's a combination story, puzzle, a little bit of strategy game, but not as much as you'd think. So I'm looking at it more like you would an online game type novel, because I want to know what happened to my brother. I'm there looking for my brother. I'm there looking for the haunted chambers, as he was looking for, or cursed chambers. I'm sorry. So sounds like an interesting game. I don't believe it's interactive, so even if you join it, I can't. But again, I'm interested enough. I dropped $4 for a power up. Usually I don't, but I'm from the age where my weekend was dropping 25 to 50 bucks a quarters at the latest arcade. So if I like your game, I'm going to send you a few. On the other side of the spectrum, there's a game that's just utterly serious called Bazooka Boy. It's me. I got a bazooka. I'm trying to kill the other characters. And they're little tiny stick men and various puzzles. I can blow you up directly, drop. Got to watch out because sometimes you lob a grenade back, sometimes you don't. If I fail to kill you in 3 shots, lo and behold, I watch an ad for 3 more shots. If I die, lo and behold, I watch an ad for 3 more shots. I can never see buying a power-up on this one. Some of the ads, you've seen the big 30-second ads. Some of them are 30-second ads, but in 5 seconds, you can skip it and move on to the next thing. So it's kind of like the exact opposite, where the Harry Potter game is like the ads are there. If I want to speed up or get some energy, I can watch it. This one, the ads are all over the place, but I don't care because blowing things up like that is fun. I got myself a Batman costume, of all things. They're like, every so often you get a chance to get other costumes, and I'm like, there's no reason for it. There's no, other than the guns that fire different things, there's no reason to change costumes. There's no power. It's just something to do. But when I'm bored and I'm tired of whatever latest match 3 or bubble pop game, I just go to Bazooka Boy and blow things up. Yeah. Try not. And sometimes when I die, I laugh. Yes. I'm not crazy for nothing. I did catch 1 episode of Star Trek Progeny. It's a new program on Paramount and Nickelodeon. It's animated, much in the computer style like some of the Star Wars ones were. Love it. Absolutely love it. It actually premiered a while, maybe a week or so ago as we do this. I think all 10 seasons are up on Paramount, and then it will air on Nickelodeon before the 2nd season is released. Essentially, it takes place 5 years after the USS Voyager's return to Earth. Motley crew of youngsters in the Delta Quadrant find an abandoned Starfleet ship, the USS Protostar. Taking control of the ship, they must learn to work together and make their way towards the Alpha Quadrant. You kind of introduced everybody. Catherine Janeway's there. She appears as the ship's emergency training hologram. I knew this and I totally blanked on it because I was so involved with the characters. And one of them is a Medusan. Cory, you remember the Medusans from the original series?
Aren't they the ones that were in the box?
Yes. So it's
What's in the box?
It's in the box. And if anybody looks at them, you go insane. So it's very interesting. I mean, that caught me right away. And you're like, wait a minute, they're really doing some fun things. It's delightful. I don't want to get too freaking on this because we've talked about it before. Man, there's people online bitching about it. Dude, I swear, everybody, I got that when I was listening to people complain about Thor. They don't like the run of Thor comics. He doesn't understand Thor. He's not doing Thor the way I do. It's like, dudes, I've read the stories you've read. I enjoyed them. I want something new. This is something new. If you don't like it, bow out. Yes, the person doing it understands Thor. He's doing a fine job with it. Thor went from being a happy warrior to suddenly being the all king. And what's worse, he's got a prophecy involved that says he's going to ruin everything and die horribly. What's worse, his dad's still around. I really, really dislike that line of arguing. Oh, this isn't, it's just, I had this shit when I first started my comic store. This ain't my stuff. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Well, go back and reread your stuff. I don't want to reread your stuff. It wouldn't be the same. The closest thing I can think of is like when I was talking about reading the original Jack Kirby, Stan Lee run of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I don't know if it was a Nick Fury agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or just S.H.I.E.L.D., but
it was like Fury, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They were in a war. It was marvelous because even if Hydra suddenly took advantage, S.H.I.E.L.D. was ready to counterpunch. And I had a feeling these guys were in a war. When they left and Straczynski came on, it became more Nick Fury 007. I loved it. I wasn't bitching. Oh, he changed it all. He should have kept it the other. I just, I was watching a thing online while I was sitting at work, and it's one of those, here are the top 10 things on Facebook, and I had to chuckle because the one guy was talking about, I think, meta events where he had the will this be I forget the name of the episode, but you remember Frank Gorshin was on there.
Oh yeah.
Half black on the right, half white on the left. The other one was half black on the left, half black on the white. A very heavy episode on racism. And the guy had to stop and go, yeah, Star Trek was never political. Dudes. Yeah. Anyways, so all this stuff on Facebook is just kind of people bitching about it. You know what? I didn't mean to make this a mini freaking, because it's just people say, I don't like it. I'm not going to buy it. It's not for me. I don't care for his take on it. Wait. Somebody will come along, and maybe 7 years in the case of Jason Aaron, that will change again. You didn't like Immortal Hulk? Guess what? A new Hulk #1's coming out soon. Here's your chance to jump on again. I didn't mean to bring things down. Cory, what are you geeking on?
Oh, gosh. Last week on AEW Rampage, Friday night. By the way, Rampage, if you're a wrestling fan, you got to watch Rampage. It is where they put the premier wrestling. We had Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston. They did a 20-minute match. It was goddamn amazing. By the end of it, Bryan Danielson's chest looked like hamburger. He'd taken so many chops. It was a thing of beauty where I forgot I was watching a predetermined show. It was more, I was watching two guys fight. That's what I love wrestling the most, when it makes me turn off the fact that I know it's predetermined and, and all that, and I just go with the story. With the Eternals movie coming out, I'm looking at all the merchandising stuff. They are doing Funko Pop figures of Kirby's Celestials. They're doing all this other stuff. I'm going to be honest, even if the movie sucks, which it won't, because Marvel's good at this stuff, I get new Jack Kirby toys that I never, ever, 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 ever thought I would get. What is better than that? Nothing. That's what's better than that. Most people complain about Xfinity/Comcast. They were very nice to me. My DVR was almost full. I got a little pop-up that said, hey, we noticed that your DVR runs, a little over 90%. Would you like to upgrade to 300 hours of DVR time? Why, yes, I would. I clicked the button and they upgraded me immediately. And it's free for a year. Then after that year, it'll be $10 more a month. Cool. Because a lot of what I have on there is stuff I've recorded from Turner Classic Movies. There's the stuff from recently and the football from last weekend. But the stuff that's clogging it up is the stuff that I haven't had time to watch until I get to the weekend, when I can sit down for 2 hours and watch something. And normally a big corporation, we talk about how terrible they are. This was more, hey, will you want more for nothing? I'll always take more for nothing. If it's free, it's for me. Comic-wise, I was sorting some comics. I ran across some trade paperbacks. I have the Supreme trade paperbacks that were put out by Checker. That's right, the ones written by Alan Moore. Ooh, that is good stuff. It's such a shame that the film for those comics is, from what I hear, the film is just a mess. Unable to be used again. So they don't know if they'll ever be able to reprint them. Alan Moore took Supreme and did his Superman. It was a modern take on the 50s and 60s Superman stories that may be one of the best things he ever did. Just reading those early issues, just so damn good, so smart, and using all of the goofy Superman stuff that Mort Weisinger used in a way where you just go, oh, why didn't DC, instead of handing Superman to John Byrne, they should have just gave it to Alan Moore. I also read a trade paperback that I bought in one of our excursions, and that is Hellstrom, Son of Satan.
Ooh.
It's written by Alexander Irvine, who seems to have dropped off comics altogether. Drawn by Russ Braylon, but inked by Klaus Janson. Now, most of the stuff they did with the Max line, if it wasn't written by Garth Ennis, was by people you didn't know. Klaus Janson inking this new guy, Russ Braun, great idea. Because it really made his stuff is a little experimental, but Klaus Janson knew, here's what I could do to make it more palatable, more readable. The story is that Damien Hellstrom is dealing with the Egyptian gods, and Thoth is about to be reborn. It's so smart, so funny, and probably the best Damien Hellstrom / Son of Satan story I've ever read. This was amazingly good. I'm sad I missed it at the time because it came out in 2007. But boy, Damien Hellstrom is one of those characters that even as a kid I went, what? The Son of Satan? What the hell? Pun intentional. Joe, have you ever heard the Marvel backstage origin of Son of Satan?
I don't think so.
Stan Lee went to Roy Thomas and said, hey, The Exorcist is big, all this stuff is big. Let's do a comic about Satan. We'll do a comic about the devil. And Roy Thomas talked him out of it, and instead took that idea and turned it into, okay, how about it's Satan's son? He's fighting against the devil, and he's an exorcist. And Stan okayed that, and they went with it. But just think, Stan in 1972 said, let's do a comic about Satan. Yeah, that would have gone really, really well in the South. Even as a kid, 1975, 76, I go to the comic rack and there's the Son of Satan. Yeah, if I even pick that up, Mom's not going to let me read it. She may not
But it was code approved.
Comics anymore.
But it's got the code. It's okay.
My mom didn't know anything about the comics code. She didn't care. She just would have said, Son of Satan. You're not reading that. And then some of the issues, the ones written by John Warner, I probably would have been much happier if she would have banned it for life. Oh, those are bad comics. Believe it or not, kids, you've wasted 2 hours of your life listening to us blather on about funny books.
And not even funny books you can buy now. Things you have to go either look on eBay or wait till January.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? 10 tickles.
Ugh.